everybody. Welcome to the inaugural episode, I guess, of Coffee with Christy, the expert series. I have my little coffee here, so not a requirement to be on the show. However, I just want to create an environment where I can start chatting. So welcome to this first episode, and I am really excited to invite I feel like we're girlfriends. I feel like we're buddies. We're like really supportive, and I've met. This is Michelle Viña Balsas, and she is an intuitive eating counselor, and she's been all over the internet. I see her in like all kinds of groups. She's so supportive. We're in the EDRD Pro together, which has been super helpful. The Inspired to Seek group, and she's an intuitive eating counselor certified by Evelyn Tribole and Elise Resch, which is like amazing. And you are a holistic health coach, correct?
Yes, correct.
And one thing I learned about you that I thought was super cool, which I want to talk with you about on another episode because I want to learn about this, and that's the emotional freedom technique, the EFT.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's a whole nother thing, but I thought that was really fascinating. So Michelle's been in this line of work. I don't know. I think her work is awesome. I trust what she has to say. I feel like you have a good heart, and just like you're always learning. So I thought you would be a great person to come on and start my little web show. So welcome. Do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone, and hi, Christy. I'm literally like fanning because I'm emotional that you're saying so many beautiful things about me, and I receive all of them. My heart just feels seriously warm right now. I'm emotional.
Yes, I made somebody cry on the first episode.
Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I feel similarly about your work, and you are like the collaboration maven, and I think it's beautiful. And we said this before we started recording. Your attitude about this, just to help one another, and more importantly, to give our clients, or potential clients, what they need. And if it's not with us, it's with someone else. And you're doing that and introducing new people into their lives, and that's the definition of service. So
yeah, I agree.
We all got
into this because we know diets are garbage and we know that they hurt women. So we all got into this because we want to help people. So I'm really excited. Yeah. I don't know, you made me a little emotional too, Michelle. Jeez.
Well, we want women and men too, but I know I work primarily with women. We want them to have a voice. And diets don't allow women to do that, right? They suppress them and squash them, and that needs to stop. So as many of us who are out there like speaking this language, the better off we are, because let's face it, the diet industry is mammoth. So we need to keep throwing stuff at it, and we're here to do that.
It really damaging.
It is.
Okay, I got to keep focusing on forward because we're keeping these casual. We're going to keep these chats casual, and I keep looking at you because you're so beautiful, and I love your hair, by the way.
Okay.
But like my MacBook is broken, so I apologize for my eyes diverting people. Mm-hmm. I will get dealing for it, but I'm like a spaz. Too much. Oh, I know. I'm just really excited to be here. So we're going to just dive in really quick because I want to be respectful of everyone's time, and I know that we're heading into the holidays. And I know this is a really difficult time for people. And I just wrote a blog, which will be in the show notes, called Simple Ways to Avoid. I'm like simple ways to avoid holiday food stress. And I thought that's where the ultimate guide to guilt-free holiday eating is. And Michelle, you are in the second version, which I'm finishing up after this interview.
Yay!
You guys can head to the show notes at KristenMorgan.com. / is that a slash or a forward slash?
I think it's a forward slash.
Yeah, forward slash.
That always confuses me.
004 is where you can get more info. So I wanted to bring on somebody else to talk with about the holidays because it's a difficult time. So in respect for your time, let's get going. And I just want to get a few tips from Michelle about what her best ideas are for not like going crazy this holidays with all the food. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I feel strongly that, it's really never about the food. It's always about kind of what's going on around us that generally leads us to the food. Okay. So I think for me, I have to always back it up, and one of the things that I always have to look at in my life, specifically around this time of year, is my self-care. Because I find that, hello, right? because I find that when the self-care is not there, I tend to be looking around the kitchen, opening up the pantry, like, what's going on? Are you even hungry? You know?
Right. And it's interesting that you say this because I've transitioned from a diet mentality into this myself. I think a lot of us have, but like, that's one of the things that I always heard. And I was like, self-care, self-care, self-care. And it's like, what does that even mean? Like, go get a massage that's going to fix my eating issues? Right. Like, that's not how. But the more I get into it, the more I really, self-care is probably one of the most vital things to embracing this new non-diet life and embracing the holidays. Because a lot of people tell me, and I don't know if they tell you this too, I eat when I'm stressed, and I eat when I'm bored, and I eat when I'm angry, and I eat when I'm this, and it's like when you start to unpack all that, there's almost always at the root is you're not doing things to take care of yourself. Now, what that looks like, I think, is different for every person, right? Would you say?
Right. And I want to add something else is that, you know, many people go to the food. Some people go the opposite way, right? And they restrict more. And, you know, my mindset is more for the overeater, but I've recently had more clients that are more restrictors. So, like, in order to, in quotes, control their environment, they choose not to eat. So it's so interesting how we flip it both ways. Like I said, the majority of my work has been over, and now it's going under. And it's so interesting to me how things change. But the self-care, I agree with you. It's not always an expensive massage or even a mani-pedi. You know, like for me, self-care looks like personally taking time to meditate during the day, at least for 5 or 10 minutes. Like, it was something I never was able to do or told myself I couldn't do. And then I literally trained myself because I felt so disconnected from my body. So one way that I engage in self-care on a daily basis is doing some type of meditation, you know,
I like
meditation. Yeah.
Like
but, you know, self-care can be as simple as saying no to something, right?
Yep.
Like, you're overwhelmed. You got 20, we had to do it yesterday. We were putting up our Christmas tree and doing a million other things. And we had sort of pre-committed to go to a fundraising event. And I looked at my husband and I said, this is not happening today. It's just not. So we said, so sorry, we'll send a donation. And, you know, these things are not easy, but they are self-care, you know, and like, it's important that we realize, like, this may be not the right time for this, and being okay with it and doing it obviously in a way that's, you know, that's kind, you know, but we can't be everything to everybody all the time, right?
No, and I think that's, you bring up an interesting point, is that it really looks different for everybody. I'm going to tell you a quick story. When I had my baby, I had really severe postpartum depression. I quit my full-time job and I started staying home, which I wouldn't have it any other way, but it was a huge transition because I've always been kind of a worker bee, and I like to create and I like to do, and you know, it was really hard to transition just to, you know, caring for a child, which, you know, is a whole other job. But for me, part of my self-care was getting back into some sort of dietetics or nutrition work. So that was a part that made, it was hard for my husband to understand. He's like, can I buy you a video game or something? Like, you know, and I'm like, I need that outlet. And that was a huge thing for healing for me. So it's really got to be, it's going to be different for everybody. And would you agree that if to figure that out, I try to recommend that people really ask themselves what their values are. Like, when I say that, what does that mean to you? Like, figuring out what your values are to figure out your self-care.
Yeah, I mean, I think about, like, what's important to me, you know, is feeling free and feeling free during the day, feeling joy during the day, feeling centered during the day. All of those things are, you know, to me, and I agree with you, they all kind of lead into, okay, well, what type of self-care am I going to choose today? And it changes every day. You know, like the one staple that I do have is the meditation for many, many reasons. But different things, like some days it's movement and meditation. You know, other days it's like baking or cooking something that I love to cook for my family. You know, it's different all the time. And the beauty of becoming more intuitive is that we can tap into, what do I need today? And allowing ourselves that flexibility, dumping that perfectionism that we had with that diet mentality of like, right? That perfectionism is like, I think about it and I suffocate.
It will like choke you. Perfectionism.
It will choke you. It will choke you. It's first of all, it's unattainable, right? But I can so easily go back there into that perfectionist, and I say, whoa, wait a second. This is very reminiscent of old behaviors that never served you. So let's move on. let's try something else.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's good. Self-care is huge. It's just got to happen. So when you're trying to figure that out, in kind of summary, think about what's important to you and what makes you you. For me, it's being able to connect with people regularly. So that's why my business has really been helpful. So yeah, think about those values. Like values are things like family, activities, work, intellectual
purpose. Yeah, what gives you purpose?
So think about that as far as values. Establish what those are for you, and say, hey, am I like lacking in this area? And that's going to make you feel, I think, more full, and like push out all the need for fake comfort.
100% agree with you. 100% agree with you.
Very good. Did you have any other thoughts?
Nope. We nailed them.
Yeah.
We kind of did. Wrap that up.
Yeah. Did you have any other tips or any other thoughts about holidays?
I do. Another thing that I always remember during the holidays is to focus on what the holiday is about. The focus of the holiday is not to buy 20,000 presents, and this is for any faith, or to to do any of those things like monetarily. It's really about family, about giving, about receiving. And when things get like, when there's 20,000 things in the air, I again have to say, put your feet back on the ground, come back to the breath and be like, okay, what is this about? And how is this going to help enhance my family experience? How is it going to help bring my family more closer to me? And when I do that, everything just simplifies and all the plates come down gently. And then I can really look at what's important and go back to, like you said earlier, go back to those values. Right?
I agree. And interesting that you say this is that we live in a diet culture, right? We live in a commercial culture, right? So when you get to, I like buying gifts, receiving gifts and all of that, but like around the time, just like diet messages, there's the onslaught of like, buy this, save this, spend this. So like, I think that can really bring a lot of stress, like monetarily for people. And like, for me at least, like, I know that can be a huge thing, but that's a voice you want to try to drown out, because it's kind of like an analogy. Like with the diet culture, we have to drown out the voices and really get back to the meaning and the true meaning of eating. Whereas with around the holidays, we have to kind of like drown out all the commercialism and all the things that are fun but not really matter, and get down to like the root and remember like why we are in the holidays.
Right.
I think so. If you can start to, again, try to drown out those messages, remember what it's all about. For example, I love having my tree this time of year because I love the tree on. I like to I'm going to read my kid a little story, but I like to have the lights off with the tree and have some, cocoa and like reflect. And that's like part of the season for me,
And that's a tradition. That's going to be a tradition with you and your little one,
And like, that's just so important. Like, I love the food and like the cookies that my, mother-in-law makes, but I'm more like the vibe. I get like the vibe and the feelings. And everyone, even though it can get hectic around dinner time, like every single meal, like somebody gets tense, I swear. But then I'm like, but it's just like, I don't know. It's like what we do.
Yeah. So, at least you're at the table together. There's always, my son is 16 now, so I totally remember like being at the table like this, but then, and sometimes still it gets like that, but overall I'm thankful that we're at the table together, and that we can share that experience. But like, you're saying, it just made me think, like, we're not so much into presents. We get little things here and there, but the truth is we get what we need throughout the year. We're very blessed. But we focus on the experiences, the things that we will remember long term. Like seeing my son put up his Christmas village to me is like, and he still wants to do that, is like,
oh, that's cute.
When, it's like awesome. It's just,
that's cute.
It's awesome. These are the experiences that we will carry with us for the rest of our lives. You having cocoa with your son in front of your Christmas tree? Gold. It's gold.
It's huge.
Gold,
And I don't mean to be like I don't want to bring us down or anything, but like there's so many scary things happening in the world with guns and with whatevers and war and like all of this stuff, and like life is really, really freaking short. Mm-hmm. And it's like we just have to like suck the marrow out of every moment, and I know that can be hard. I think the seasons are the same way.
I agree.
The holidays.
I totally agree with you.
Yeah, very good. So remember for the reason for the season.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts?
One last one, which is we have to remind, because the season is relatively short. We have to, there is an end to the stress, right? So it's like keeping an eye on that there is a short period of time. It's not going to last forever. And I'm like, that helps me because I'm like, oh my God, I'm so stressed. I have that. But I'm like, wait a second. And I go back to the simplify, and I go back to, this is not what the season is about. But I remember that it's okay if you have to hustle a little bit, as long as you're keeping the self-care in mind and the reason for the season in mind. But it's only for a short period of time. So when I think about that, I'm like, okay, this is not forever. This is just for a little period of time, a small little pocket of time, and enjoy it, like you said, and take the marrow out of it, because we just don't know, right? Yeah, we just don't know. So we have to do our best to enjoy it.
Totally. And I'm just going to make one other quick comment before we wrap it up, and that's in my creation of the Ultimate Guide book, somebody, and I can't remember who it was, I will quote them in the show notes, but they said, I think it was Nina, they said that it's okay to not like feel great at the holidays and to ask for help, because I know a lot of people out there, the holidays can be very sad for reasons, like
yeah,
it can be very painful.
Absolutely.
It was when my mother died. It's not as much anymore, but the first Christmas after my mother died, it was like,
it's challenging.
So we know that the holidays we're acknowledging that sometimes just the hustle and the bustle, people have more severe stress beyond that. Mm-hmm. So Michelle and I are totally acknowledging that.
Yep.
And then I think I'm going to do a talk with another gal, longer talk on this, is to not like reach out for help and acknowledge that you don't have to be happy all the time, and like reach out to somebody you love, because it's going to bring up a lot of painful stuff. And it's okay to not feel great because your mom just passed away. My friend, her father just died very suddenly the day before Thanksgiving, and it was really hit me hard. And, it's not going to be about hustle and bustle for her this year. It's going to be about loss. Yeah. So please also care for yourself in that way.
Absolutely.
And know that you're not alone with that kind of stuff. So.
And you don't have to be, like you said, you don't have to be happy, bubbly the whole time, because a lot of people are very blue during the holidays. It can be a very challenging time. We have to allow ourselves to feel these feelings. And like you said, reach out, to whoever that is, because there are a lot of people that are struggling. There are plenty of people that are gleeful, but there are plenty of people that are also very sad. So, like you said, people, they're not alone, and reaching out is really important. But that, I think, also that's where the self-care comes in, because reaching out to people is a form of self-care, and doing whatever you need to do to feel better, but knowing that it's okay to feel that way too. Giving yourself permission, right? Giving yourself permission, because I always feel bad when I feel bad, and I'm like, you're allowed.
Yeah.
You're human. Yeah. We're not supposed to be up 24/7. It doesn't work that way.
Doesn't have to be a holly jolly Christmas all the time.
No, it's unrealistic. It's unrealistic,
No, so you are like dropping like knowledge bombs all over me, and I'm so glad that you're here.
It's fun.
Before we wrap up, do you just want to is there anything you want to tell anybody about services you offer, or anything that you want to point people to this holiday season, a blog post, a product, a service, anything that you feel passionate about? I know, did I just put you on the spot with that? I think I did.
No. I'm just thinking, on my website, which you'll have in the show notes, there's lots of blogs there. I have a lot of articles on Medium that I published. And I do have an online course for intuitive eating. It's straight out intuitive eating. If you have read the book and you still feel like you're struggling, I go through everything, and I give a lot of love and compassion, and a lot of like the little pitfalls that people kind of fall into and get stuck.
Oh, yeah.
Because, there are plenty of them, it's not hard, but it's not easy either. Yeah. So,
who wouldn't want to be cared for by Michelle? Oh,
Christy.
She's all warm and cozy. So
I'm the self-compassion queen, and I take classes on self-compassion because I needed to learn to be more self-compassionate. So anyway, so that's what I have it, and it's very reasonable, and it's self-paced, and it's really, really helpful. So that's something I would say.
It is really reasonable. So great. Okay. Well, I will put the show notes again. The show notes are Kristin, CHRISTIN, Morgan, MORGN.com. We're starting at /004, just because I have a few blogs that are already named, and I decided this to start up with my 4. So 004, you can get all the show notes, get the info to Michelle, what she offers, and get a summary, and we will just, so go there. And I want to thank you, Michelle, my lovely, wonderful friend, for helping me launch this, helping me feel excited, and like I'm also not alone in the journey. So
yeah, none of us are.
None of us are. Alrighty. Thank you much.
Thank you very much for this opportunity, and I hope that this resonates with your viewers and listeners.
I hope so too. Bye.
Okay. Bye.